This next section is over connective tissues. Connective tissues are found throughout the body. They are the most abundant and widely distributed of the primary tissues. The types we're going to talk about today are connective tissue proper, cartilage, bone, and blood. When it comes to the functions of connective tissue, we usually talk about binding and supports. They're also there to protect, they insulate, and then with blood, you're going to have some transportation. So now there are certain characteristics of connective tissue that we see across the board. This is kind of strange, but a mesenchymal cell is the common tissue. That's the origin. It's like the stem cell, but anyway. They vary in their degrees of vascularity, the vascular system, because cartilage has very little very little blood flow to it, but some of the others have a large amount of blood flow, so it varies. There are three parts that make up a connective tissue, and my picture here shows three parts. First of all, you have to have some sort of cell. Okay, so this is the living parts of the tissue, so we've got multiple cells in here. Second, you have to have some sort of a fiber. And you can see in this one here, we've got all sorts of fibers running throughout this tissue. And then finally, we have something that's called ground substance. And the ground substance, this is this non-living extracellular matrix that you see between all the fibers and the cell. Excuse me. That ground substance, it's unstructured material that basically fills in the gaps, okay? Now, backing up, the fibers, most of the fibers that we see here are either collagen fibers or elastic fibers. And elastic fibers to me look like hairs on the microscope. But collagen fibers, you'll notice they're big, they're pink, you won't miss them. There's also called a reticular fiber. Anytime we talk about reticular, we're talking about like a mesh or a weave, but we'll cover those here in a little bit. The different cell types, you know, we can have, if we're talking about blood, there's all types of cells in blood besides just the red blood cells, which we think of, the multiple white blood cells and others. We can have a fibroblast, a chondroblast. Chondro is cartilage. You can have an osteoblast. Osteo is bone. So anyway, there's all types of cells that we're going to get through this. When it comes to the different fibers, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all around here, but that's the way my brain's working today. When it comes to different fibers, I said you can have, let's see, collagen, elastic, and reticular. I told you reticular is the network. That's the easy one. But I didn't say anything about the function of collagen. Collagen is tough. It provides a high tensile strength. Doesn't want to tear, doesn't want to stretch. Now, elastic, those are the long, thin ones. Those are the ones that will allow for stretch. So the fibers are important where they come into play. Okay, let's move on then. This picture, by the way, is figure 4.7, areolar connective tissue. And again, it just goes over different parts of it. So like that's a mast cell. We'll get those later. These are the elastic fibers here. They're trying to show the blue as the reticular, I believe. I can't tell that for sure. These are like fat cells, fat globules. That's one of the white blood cells. So anyway, this is just a model showing an awful lot of everything in here. So this is my first connective tissue, and this is what areolar tissue really looks like. For areolar, we also tend to use the word loose connective tissue. So we have a gel-like matrix with three connective tissue fibers. So that's what makes areolar unique, is it does have the elastic, and the elastic here are the black ones. And then the big thick ones are the collagen, and then the reticular are kind of the real light pink that you see in there. Anyway, the cells are fibroblasts, and then also you'll see some like a macrophage or the mast cells, some of the others that I showed you in that model. Anyway, this whole tissue is there to wrap and cushion organs. So you're going to find this surrounding certain organs. So this is widely distributed throughout your body. You do find it everywhere. And more than that, other than that, So this picture over here, this is just showing some transitional epithelium, you can tell because it's globular. And then this is the lamina propria. That's the connective tissue, because when I was telling you about epithelium, epithelia are usually associated with some sort of connective tissue. This is the one that shows up most of the time. Okay, so it's there just to hold and convey the tissues and fluids, and plays an important part in inflammation. Anytime we talk about mast cells, we're talking about inflammation. Some of those cells in there, like macrophage, they play a role in your immunization system. So anyway, we'll talk about more of that later. Next up, this is adipose tissue, also known as fat. The matrix here is similar to areolar connective with closely packed adipocytes. And so we can see the little nuclei. The dark spots here are the nuclei of the cells. This is not the cell. That's the cell, and that's the cell, and that's the cell. But this big circular part is not. This is simply fat deposits found in what's called a vacuole. And so we deposit fat inside these things and store fats. So this gives us our, our food stores of reserves. This insulates us against heat loss. Obviously, it's going to support and protect. You're going to find this under our skin, around our kidneys, within our abdomen, and obviously the picture here shows within the breast. Local fat deposits serve nutrient needs of your highly active organs. So that's the purpose of the adipose. You find them in some weird places too, like around your eyeballs. You got a fat pad in there. So I think it's kind of cool. Okay, let's keep moving. This is reticular connective tissue. Reticular because those are reticular fibers. And then the cells that we see in there, I'm sure they're just a fibroblast. Anyway, these are found within like lymph nodes, bone marrows, and the spleen. And so with the reticular fibers, different cells will come in here along with the fibroblasts that make up the thing. But other cells like a lymphocyte, a white blood cell, will come in, get caught on those reticular fibers and spend time milling around inside of this tissue. And during that time, it becomes what's called immunocompetent. So in other words, it matures, so then it can actually go out and fight. So anyway, this is just, a loose connective tissue, a reticular tissue. You find it in other places with other functions, like it's found inside the internal parts of your skeleton. So anyway, so the bone marrow. This is dense regular connective tissue, a whole lot of collagen. So the wavy pink, these are just collagen fibers all running in parallel to each other. The dark purple, these are the nuclei of the fibroblasts, which are the cells that make this up. You're going to find these in your tendons and ligaments in your body. So in other words, you can see my picture down here. There's the muscle, and we got a tendon going up and attaching to the bones. You also find them in ligaments where we're attaching bone to bone. I think that's what they're trying to show up here in the shoulder blade, or in the shoulder to the clavicle. Anyway, the thing that you're going to find with the parallel collagen fibers is they don't stretch. If they stretch, they're going to tear, and you're going to have some serious issues with these. But the function, again, you're attaching bones to bones or muscles to bones. And again, they withstand that great tensile stress when you pull a force or put a force on them and try to pull them apart. So easy to define under a microscope. Okay, so this is dense regular, right? That's what you're seeing here. The next one's going to show this capsule right here, I believe. Yep, there we go. That is dense irregular. Now, dense irregular, look at where the collagen fibers are running. They're going all over the place, aren't they? Now, within this, you will find some elastic fibers, but not a ton. Cell type, again, is a fibroblast. These things withstand tensions in all different directions. This provides that structural strength you're going to need surrounding that joint. So along with around joints like what you see here with the shoulder, you're also going to find this in the dermis and underneath your skin. And then the digestive tract. And anyway, anytime you have a fibrous capsule around an organ, you're going to find dense irregular connective tissue. Next up is hyaline cartilage. And cartilage is a connective tissue. You can't really see the fibers. You can see the cells, and you know there's something there for ground substance, but there is a fiber there. There's collagen there. It's just difficult to see. These cells, by the way, are chondrocytes. Chondro means cartilage. If you've had biology and you've studied different phylums, so kingdom, phylum, class, the kingdom's Animalia, the phylum would be Chondrochites. Chondro means cartilage, so these are actually organisms that have cartilage skeletons. So sharks are Chondrochites, that's how they are defined. So chondro means cartilage. Cyte, C-Y-T-E is cell, of course. But anyway, so these are chondrocytes. They lie in what's called a lacuna, L-A-C-U-N-A-E. That's a space right there. That's what lacuna means. Anyway, so the hyaline cartilage, you can see they form your costal cartilages down between your ribs and your sternum. Also, the cartilage found in your nose. Most of your cartilage, at the end of all your long bones, you have hyaline cartilage. It is found on the ends to help with the gliding surface. Your trachea contains hyaline cartilage, so your larynx also contains hyaline cartilage. Anyway, it's there to support, reinforce, cushion, resist compression, provide a smooth surface, lots of different functions. This is an important one. This is elastic cartilage. It's similar to hyaline, but it has more elastic fibers. That's what the little black hairs look like. Once again, you got chondrocytes found in lacuna. That's what you're seeing there. You see these make up your ears. That's why your ears are flexible. The only other place that I know where you're going to find elastic cartilage is in your epiglottis, in your throat. It folds down when food goes over it, and then it pops back up. So that's where you find elastic cartilage. That is fibrocartilage. Matrix is similar to hyaline cartilage, but less firm, thick collagen fibers. And you can see the collagen fibers are sort of running in parallel, but you do have a little bit of mixing in there because it's not quite as even as what you saw with that dense regular connective tissue. And again, the cells are different anyway. But this one provides tensile strength and absorbs compression or shock. That's why you see it between the bones here of your vertebrae. You also see it in the pubic symphysis. So the bones, you got two pubic bones coming together, you find it there. Anyway, it's a shock absorber. And oh, you also find this in the meniscus in your knee. So if you've heard of a meniscus before, that's this tissue. So that's fibrocartilage. Next is bone. Bone to me looks like tree rings. That's exactly what it looks like. So this is hard calcified matrix with collagen fibers. Believe it or not, you do have collagen fibers in here and inside the bone. And it's kind of cool because one set of fibers is laid down in a spiral, and then the next one comes in and spirals the other way. It's just a neat system. Osteocytes are down in these tiny little cracks here. That's what you see. Once again, those holes are called lacunae. That's where you put your osteocytes. These things are very well vascularized. So that's that central canal going down right there, which we'll study later. That contains your blood vessels going down through your bone. You can see you got a lot of those on the microscopic level. So a lot of vascular tissue. This is there obviously to support, protect, provides levers for muscle action or locomotion. But it also plays a role storing calcium. So when your body needs calcium, it'll go for your bones first and other minerals, not just calcium. Up here, no, here in the middle, in the diaphysis here, you have fat storage. So in the bone marrow itself, usually at the ends, this is the site of hematopoiesis, H-E-M-A-T-O-P-O-I-E-S-I-S, hematopoiesis. Hemo is blood. Anytime we talk about a poietic tissue, it's a formation. So this is a blood-forming tissue. So you're getting blood formed at the ends of your long bones. Next up, that is blood. And so you can see, obviously, we have the Remember, the three parts again that make up your connective tissues are cells and matrix and fibers. And so you look at this and you go, okay, I see different white blood cells and then different red blood cells. Obviously, I can't see the matrix, but that's what's between all these cells here. I'm missing the fibers. Well, the fibers come into play when we actually start the cascade effect. We can get fibers to come in here and form, and that's how you end up with a blood clot. Um, so function is to transport respiratory gases, nutrients, and waste, and then also to protect us. Our white blood cells are there for our immune system, and that's the purpose of those. Okay, I want to end with that one, and we'll pick up the last part of this chapter 4 in my next video.